let's have a look. So someone is in a turtle, if we go here, I guess. Then orientate yourself maybe a little bit more sideways. Thank you. Okay, so let's have a look. Like you can have some kind of loose or someone having a really tight turtle. So let's look at a tight turtle to begin with, okay? So myself in relationship with them is I'm always trying to create contact and maintain that chest to back contact. So usually somewhere here in the back, knees pinching together. One knee is ringing. Just throw it against the wall till it stops. Okay. So, yeah, so here we are. I'm not quite square. I'm off a little bit to the side, creating connection with my chest and back here. Okay, I'll sit up so I can talk to you, but normally, you know, I'm down a little bit here. I'm going to look for like a karate chop hand, working to get into this little gap here, you know. Often people are very tight here, so sometimes I'll reach up and get a little pull here. Maybe they think I'm digging for the seatbelt kind of connection or whatever, but I'll go in here and give a little pull around here. And if I give a little pull here, often they'll shrug a little bit on this side, and sometimes a little gap, a little millimeter gap opens up here a little bit more than usual, and I'll go my karate chop hand in here. Ideally, this hip I want to control, so creating a diagonal control ultimately. But ideally, I'd like to go all the way in and get my elbow onto this hip here, so I'm creating that tight waist control. So karate chop hand, or get a little wriggle here maybe, get a little bit of space, karate chop hand, work it in. This is okay, but this is even better. Elbow to hip, and now I've got a good place to start, okay? Everyone's going to defend the seatbelt right away, so this is the starting position to look at. The next thing I'm going to do is drop my knee on the outside of my partner's hip, with my cross, I'm using this as a base, yeah? So I'm here and I'm going to shift to the side, collapsing them over this, but shifting out at the last moment so they don't land up on top of me. So I'm going to collapse them over, but if I keep my knee here, then my leg is trapped underneath them. So before that happens, I'm going to shift out. Actually, maybe shift a little bit this way. Okay, thank you. So we're here, whoop, whoop, here, collapse them over and shift out. Whoop. I've collapsed them onto one hip. This is always good because people aren't very mobile when they get onto one hip. All right. From here, they may be fine. They probably don't like being here, and they'll start to fight to get back up. But I'm usually able to keep them here quite well just by pulling on the hip here. From here, boom, seatbelt connection goes in. Normally, it's dangerous to throw in the far hip. Sorry, you go back up again. If I start to put in the far hip now, as my partner stands up, I'll fall off and I'm no control. So, however, when I've managed to collapse them onto one hip, it's okay to do that. It's safer. Okay. So we're here, boom, collapse, shift out. Aha. Seatbelt. Far hook in now. Knee up high, roll them back. Boom. Second hook in. Boom. Good finishing position. Okay. Let's do it one more time. When you guys do it. On the back, knees pinching. This back knee's a little bit higher. This one's a little bit lower. Connection, pull, in, tight waist, elbow to hip, post, block, drag them over it and shift out so you're not trapped underneath. Keep them pulled back on the hip. Seatbelt. Oh, I'm not falling down yet. I'm sitting up still, yep. Hook in. Connection chest to back, pull them back, second hook in, boom, deep bottom hook. Feet, I like feet together. You can do this if you like, but I like keeping feet together and pinching, and then boom, we're ready to finish. Easy peasy? Yes. You guys go and do it. Let's go. 1, 2, 3.
You pull here, now it's space.
So, turtle, they're in a tight turtle, right? We're looking at that. So, I'm here. Pinch with the knees gives you control. You always get in control and chest to back contact. That's really important, or else they'll just go away on you. So, stay connected, and we're in here. Get a little pull. Find that little space to wedge in here. Like this will work too if you can only get that far, if your arms are short or they're very big or whatnot, but it's better to burrow all the way through and get all the way through here. And it's my elbow married to the hip here. So bending the elbow onto the hip, that's pretty powerful. But, you know, if I can get this, it's better than nothing, but this is better. Okay, so we're here, bump, slide it in, elbow to hip. And now, from here, collapsing them onto one hip. I'm using this as a base, so I've got some support. And, you know, I can't connect right away. Block, and use this back foot to push. So I'm pushing off this back foot so that I have a good bit of force on their hip because they're quite stable and they can't readjust their base because I'm blocking it on this side. Make sure you got shin to shin. Don't have your foot out here or else it's very awkward for your knee. Keep this aligned in here. So we're here, drag, push off this back foot to start to collapse them. And then as you feel them falling or collapsing, don't get trapped underneath. Shift yourself out. Boom, give them space to fall into. Now, sometimes they'll come up and they'll block with the elbow rather than be collapsed over. That's fine. Either way, we're coming in, connecting the seatbelt here. And now, I'm pulling them back, get the first hook in, stay chest to back, and I'm rolling, keep the pull here to keep the chest back connection, and then bring them over. Now, this is the bit. In demonstrations, it's easy, I put the second hook in. However, Alex, what would you normally do here? You probably put a knee to your chest, right? Yes, aha. Now, I can't get the second hook in. What a nuisance. But that's okay, to keep strong connection with our seatbelt. We have the bottom hook in here, or the far hook actually, and we're just going to stretch them out. Once you get that, then more often than not, you can start to find this guy can come in here, okay? So, yeah, that's the simple solution. I saw a few people, there's a common reaction that they'll stay like this. So just stretch them out. So we're here, chest to back, boop, boop, here, collapse to here, seatbelt. Don't fall onto your butt just yet. Keep chest contact. Yeah, I'm using my chest here to kind of keep them compressed. Step over, we're really good. Maintain strong chest to back connection now. Sit onto your butt, pull them up onto your hip. Now don't just fall backwards. Start bringing them back. And I'm now looking for the next hook in. However, they're staying so tight to me, very difficult. Now, here's a little extra. I cross my ankles here. I use the pull of this and the pull of my arms. I've got two loops around their body essentially here. Whoop, and get a really nice stretch with that. And then from there, second hook comes in. Okay? And they're in a good position for finishing. Bring them over. Well, I like to stay on this side because then you can start setting up your straight jacket controls. It's such a nice deep bottom hook. That's why I favor not going always body triangle. Gives this leg freedom then to do extra stuff, okay? So, there you have it. Add that little stretch in for opening them up, okay? Where you go? 1, 2, 3. So, tight turtle, they're all nice and tight, okay? I'm starting with knees on either side of them, pinching with the knees. Always, you know, it's a good principle of pinching with the knees so I've got control. And I'm sitting up so I can talk to you. But in fact, I'm chest to back here, kind of floating on them, we've got connection. Pull here a little bit to get space. Karate chop, hand goes in, tight waist. Block, or sorry, base a little bit with this hand, so, you know, if they're jumping around the place. And this, I put my foot, my shin like this, in line with their shin. This is the block to make them collapse. But remember, don't let them lie on top of you, then you're trapped. I'm shifting out to create space for them to fall into. So this is a block to collapse them, and then it shifts out. Don't get trapped underneath. That's a common thing, I think, going around I was seeing. So I'm here, boom, in the gap here, tight waist, block, or sorry, base, block. This foot is where the push comes from. This is where the power is. To push off this foot here. This is how I get the force to be able to drag their hip, them over onto their hip and collapse them. So I'm here, push off this foot, push, push. As I feel them go, you'll know when they go. Then shift out so they fall into the gap that's been created. Don't get trapped underneath. Okay? Now from here, if it's at all possible, I'm connecting the seatbelt. I'm not on my butt right now. I'm sitting up, I'm on my foot, I'm on my knee, I've got power. And what I'm doing is, if my head is up, it's so hard then to lift your leg as well. think of yourself as a seesaw. If one end is up, the other one is down. So what I'm doing is I'm pushing down at my body and my chest, and my head is down, then it's easier to step over. If you're up like this, then so hard then. You get your leg over the far hook in. So I'm using chest pressure, chest in the back of their shoulder. This all collapses, my head kind of comes forward a little bit, and that gives me space then to step that far hook in, okay? Because or else you're trying to bend yourself in the middle somewhere. So one head, like a seesaw, head goes down, hips goes up, okay? So I'm here. From here, I put my knee high, like at their shoulder, not down here again being laid on. It's up high behind their shoulder. And now I pull them up onto my hip first of all. So they're kind of up onto me. Then clamp tight, chest to back. I bring them over, deep, bottom hook. It's here. If I can just clamp it on here, that's great. If they're super tight clamped up and don't let me in, cross your ankles, pull and pull, stretch them out. Then you'll find a gap, hopefully, to get that extra hook in. Okay? So that a few people are asking you answer most of the details. Okay, okay, adding on a little bit of extra. So just in the general in the back position, usually, like the classic way was always that you bring them to the choking side, right? Wasn't it? Where this the bottom one, and you're here, and this was always the classic way of finishing the rear naked. But of course, people are so good at defense now, really hard to finish people from here. So oftentimes now, we bring them to the other side. So that's where we're going to end up for this one. And let's look at setting up the straight jacket off it, okay? So, we're here, pinch, connection, looking for that diagonal control, fingers work their way in, tight waist, post, block, drag them onto one hip, push off that other leg, collapse them to one hip, keep them collapsed because they'll probably want to go back to that. Okay, we'll deal with this in a minute as well. That's the next second half of the class. But for now, I'm managing to keep them on one hip by pulling up my elbow here, pushing off the foot, and I'm getting them to here. Okay? When it's available to me, boom, seatbelt, chest to back. Use chest pressure to kind of collapse them a little bit. Bring your head down so that you can step over with your far leg. Now I go onto my hip and pull them up onto my lap, drag them chest to back, bring them over, looking for the second hook, cross, drag them open, get the second hook in, okay? Now, let's rotate this way. So you got a little, so where are we? Now, there's variations on how you have your hooks, of course, so we can't go into everything, but we were here, right? We have the bottom hook is what we're looking for here at the beginning, and then the second one's coming in. So option one we did was here stretching, getting this one in, or maybe from the beginning we ended up with this one really deep anyway. That can happen as well. Like I say, some people like body triangle. If you've long legs, your opponent is slender, it's easy to do. Typically I like to do this one, feet together and pinch, and this is why. So is that when we're here in the seatbelt control, and I find, I'm trying to set up my rear naked, but always nice to get control of the hand here, of course. The wrist, they can usually push through, grabbing across the knuckle line. Remember, individual fingers is against the rules, but you can grab across their knuckle line is usually a good control here. Get a grip of this, and you kind of isolate that hand, and now you're working against their chin and defensive hand here, okay? So we're somewhere here. We're always trying to work underneath the chin. Someone's used a anatomical snuff box, I believe is one of the names for this little place here on below your thumb, between your thumb and radius in here, and you can use that to bottle cap pop, get underneath. Anyways, we're here, and this defensive hand is being a nuisance, okay? So anytime you can, that's why I'm here with my head on this side, the open side, if you will, is where my head is here, my chin is over their shoulder, and we're more or less ear to ear. We're like two-headed man kind of thing. Don't have a big gap here. You all know the escapes really shoot out here. So to not allow that to happen, we're staying super tight in here. This hand, the defensive hand, say I'm trying to choke with this hand here. This is my choking arm. It's trying to go underneath to find the far shoulder to start working my choke. They know that, obviously, and they're going to defend it, and they're getting good grips on it and pulling on it. Anytime I can get their hand more or less below their chest line, just along here, okay? I know I don't have to get it super low down. I just need to get it to about there. And then without even being super flexible, you're looking to get your heel over that, drag it down, and ideally behind their back. Now you've got a good chance of finishing them if you've trapped this hand with this arm with this leg, and now working your way underneath, even if to keep your chin down. So you're looking this part of your wrist usually here, pop underneath, pop, shoot your arm through, hand onto the back of the shoulder, and now we're in a good position. I can usually just pull my elbow back for the finish, or if you like, you can start to withdraw this one and go in for this, but usually this is enough. Okay, we'll go through the sequence one more time. So, knees pinch, chest to back, make a little gap, karate chop, tight waist, elbow to hip, post, block, push, collapse to one hip, shift away, don't get trapped underneath. As soon as I see it's available, I'm shooting in for the seatbelt. Boom. I'm putting pressure on the back of their chest, and my head comes forward a little bit and a little bit down, allowing me space to step my hip back, step my hook over their hip, I should say. Okay? When I get here, my knee is high up, pulling them back, good chest to back connection, pull them over to the open side, if you will. So my head is above the shoulder. If there's space, of course, I'll step in right away, but they don't give me the space, then I cross, stretch them out, and get the second hook in, work to get then something like this, block or trap the other hand with your hand. They working for the choke, they defend, push it down, but allow them to pull it down in a way, because I'm pulling this way, they're pulling the opposite way, so I kind of allow them to win that battle just for a moment, and that gives me space then to step over, heel over, drag it behind their back, and now we're working to get underneath the chin, usually the bottle cap popper kind of method, pop, 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 shoot it through, or you can also jack it up, pop it through, find the far shoulder, and then elbow circles back to finish the strangle. Whew. That was a long sentence. Any questions so far? Okay, I know there's a million ways of attacking turtle, but this one is working well for me right now. Okay, give it a go. Well, let's go. 1, 2, 3. Just about details you get under the chin at the very end. There's 2 ways I like. Well, I'm sure there's others, but the 2 I'll just do it from the seated position so they can see more easily. So we'll skip just so you can isolate this one little detail. Okay. So when the head is jammed down, we were looking at trapping one hand. So like I say, across the fingers or across the hand is the strongest, because you're below a weaker joint. Whereas if you're just on the wrist, they can really you still push that out. Okay. So whereas here, they're pushing through the wrist, which is weaker, so it's a little bit harder for them to break this control. And I have this one at least out of the way. Let's imagine as well that we had managed to stuff this one down and trap it with this. So now we're one arm against the chin, which is still tough. So the first one I usually use is I make my wrist in this shape to make this little thin part of my wrist more prominent. I'm looking to find where their chin is and start to pop up a little bit, like I can get under a little. Then I bridge my hand up and then shoot through. That's a pretty strong way of doing it. So it's like some people, call it a bottle cap popper. So it's like this. I'm getting underneath the bottle cap to pop it open. Yeah. So make your wrist this shape. Narrow part of your wrist. Find the chin. Go underneath a little. As soon as you get a little bit underneath, the thin end of the wedge is in. Then you can make the wedge bigger. So I make my hand this shape then. So this shape underneath first, then I bridge my wrist through to lift or elevate their chin, and then there's space for the fatter part of my forearm to shoot through, get onto the back of the shoulder, and now we're in a pretty strong position to start to finish. So that's method 1. Second method is old school judo way, which I got shown years ago, which is using your knuckles. Some guys like to use their hands like this kind of narrower part again, but again, it's about using the bony part of your knuckles and starting right behind the ear. There's kind of nerves that once you get I won't do it to Alex, she's my friend, but the knuckles like this, usually this big knuckle, behind the ear, and you follow behind the ear, and you follow down, then you get to the corner of the jawline here, and you get it in underneath that, and you get them reacting pretty strongly from it. It's really miserable. There's like kung fu pressure points or something back here, and when you are nerve endings, and when you roll over them with the big knuckle, usually you get some movement out, and that gives you the opportunity to shoot through. So something like this, where you're here and you start working through here and find underneath the chin, and then shoot through in kind of more of a brutal way. But both work pretty well. I use both sometimes. There's others as well, but these ones that work for me quite well. So bottle cap popper, bottle cap popper. Raise the hand, shoot through, or a bit of sometimes use both kind of in combination, or knuckle behind the ear, follow down behind the ear line, behind the jaw line, and work your way in through like that. Okay, both work pretty well. Give those a go for a minute, and then we're going to switch to crucifixes. Okay, let's go. 1, 2, 3. So let's go back. Let's rewind back to turtle, cracking the turtle open. Alex, thank you. Okay, so we started with when someone is in that tight turtle position and they're not giving any gaps. So tight turtle, thank you. We were here, knees pinching, bump connection, and we're looking to open them up. And I will go back to exactly where we were, trying to collapse them onto one hip. Oh, but instead of going onto one hip, they start get them onto one hip, but they post out with an arm and start to come back up onto their turtle position again. Okay. From here, I'm going to look to switch to, usually I make a fist and put a fist through here into the ground. Okay, this gives me good support and controls their hip a little bit. I've switched as well, as you can see, from being one knee on each side to both knees on one side here. Okay, I've still got connection here, and I'm in this position. From here, if they're either on one elbow, or maybe they come up in their hand, but let's imagine they're just on one elbow here, I'm going to again come forward a little bit and use my knee on the inside, like a Kezigatami type of switch of my hip to switch my hip through. Okay, separating their elbow from their body. I'm going to then lean over a little bit. If I can get a seatbelt here, I'll take a seatbelt, but sometimes I might have this, sometimes I might be here somewhere, seatbelt, depending, okay? And I go here, step over, elbow drags back, switch into a seatbelt control now, switch my hips square with them, and I'm going to triangle my legs. I'm going to open my knees wide and shift my hips around till I can find the sweet spot. There we go. And it's a little straight arm lock there, okay? Seatbelt is strong, but usually I like to base out here, so I'm nice and strong here. And hips out. There we go. Okay, again, please. So maybe they have an open turtle to begin with. I'm somewhere here, that's fine. Boom, shift through, step over, cross into the triangle of the legs. Again, controlling with this one, the control hand. Be somewhere here, switch, hips over. You have to shuffle around till you can find where the elbows more or less in line with your hips. You'll be here and you'll be in the wrong spot, it won't quite work. You gotta shift around a little bit till you find that sweet spot and then hip in. Okay? Whew. You wanna give it a try? Okay, let's go guys, 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna come in full circle again, back again. And as you can see, we're back in a straight jacket position. It's just that rather than being face up, now we're face down. So we can have a double attack again. We can go back and forth. So if you remember, just to go back on what we did at the beginning, we were going here, here, collapsing person over, seatbelt, pressure, stepping over, pulling them onto the hip, pulling them up, second hook in. Oh, we were going on this side. We were trapping. We were going in. And now this bit. We were stuffing this hand and trapping it. And now you've got two hands trapped, one with my own arm, one with the leg. And now we're easy for the strangle. Okay? Well, now we're kind of doing the same thing, but from another direction, facing another way. So we were here. And we start moving them around, and they open up so that they don't get pulled down onto the hip. That's what you're waiting for. We switch to go sit through the hip like Kezigatami. Knee on our fist onto the floor. Trap it back. Seatbelt, or excuse me, triangle your feet. I want them down at their wrists here. My foot or my Achilles should be close to their close to their wrist, and my hip should be on the back of the elbow. And my hips are facing the floor, my elbow or my knees are wide. I'm still going for this one here, and I'm sprawling into the floor to try and find the tap. However, as probably some of you already noticed, when people start doing all this kind of stuff and changing the direction of the elbow, it can be a little bit tricky to finish it. But now you might recognize we're back again in the straight jacket position, i.e. one arm is trapped with the hand, one arm is trapped with my leg. We go back to our old friend again, underneath, here, and we're back to this. So they've defended or they've managed to survive the arm lock. However, we've created double trouble or a dilemma where they don't know which is coming. So now we go back to the neck, boom, 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 work underneath the jaw, hand to the shoulder, and then circle the elbow back to finish the strangle. They get good at defending the strangle, then we go back to the arm, vice versa. Okay, so you create double threats. You don't know, they're defending one, they're vulnerable to the other, they defend this, they're vulnerable to the strangle. Okay, that's kind of the idea. So it's the same position, it's the same position, it's just our orientation has changed. Keeps it simple. All right, want to try that one out? Okay, let's go, 1, 2, 3. Just from the start, come into the center a little bit more, thank you. So first thing we did was looked at the tight turtle. Most important, well, primary thing is connection. So knees are pinching, chest to back, a little bit diagonal on my partner, not straight behind them. I'm here, working a little bit here, pulling on the elbow to get our shoulder, get a little bit of a gap. Karate chop hand works its way in, tight waist, elbow to hip, post, block, drag and push off this foot, collapse them to one hip, okay? From here, I'm looking to connect my seatbelt connection, tight connection. My head comes forward with pressure in the back of their shoulder, allowing them to be more space to step over without breaking the back to chest connection. Clamp tight, pull them back over it, get your second hook in, or set up this kind of deal. If they're tight, stretch them out, get your second hook in. You may note that my head's on the bottom here. Yeah, you can see my head isn't on this side, my head's on this side. This allows me then to start to trap their arms. Remember, along the knuckle line is a good option for this one. And for the other, as they're defending the chokes and they're pulling on my choking hand, they pull it down themselves. Once gets past their chest line, easy enough to then trap it. And then we had two options, either the bottle capper, popping over, or the knuckle screwdriver from behind the ear, working your way through to get underneath, okay? So that was the first thing we did. Then, kind of linked in with that, is when they open up a little bit because they don't want to be dropped onto one hip, or they're recovering from being dropped onto one hip, and they open up their turtle a little bit to give themselves a base in one direction or another. So, the same again. We were here, and I'm trying to pull them, but they open up enough so it's got a bit of gap. Make a fist and block here. So I'm blocking their hip to prevent them sitting through and moving too much, restricting their movement here, okay? So I switch to this position, hip to hip. I'm still got connection, chest to back to them. And I'm sitting my knee, inside knee through, like Kezigatami type of hips, yeah? This makes it harder for them to get their elbow back to their ribs. Gives me time then to step over. Ankle, or Achilles around where their wrist is, pulls it back, and I cross my body, so my kind of perpendicular to their body line. Yeah? So I'm across here. My knees are open, my hips are facing the floor. I always like taking this control hand here, support here, and wriggle around till you find the strangle, okay? Or excuse me, the arm lock. Like I say, sometimes, yeah, they'll turn their arm, they're defending, you just can't quite find that angle. That's okay. We've set up a really good trap on both arms. Back to where we started, underneath, find here, and then pull back on the elbow to get the strangle. If you're up, and if they don't collapse, say you stay up in the turtle, and we're here, you can roll all the way over. So like if you roll all the way over, you're still good here. You know, this still works. This is nice. They can roll this way, they can roll that way. You stay on their back like a little backpack, and you're still in a good finishing position, okay? There you have it. That's pretty much what I want to show you today. So thank you everybody for coming. I appreciate you coming out so late in the week when I know everybody is tired and you could be up on the mountain right now. So thank you very much for coming. Hopefully see you at the next camp. If you're in Dublin, come visit me. And thank you. Good work everybody for coming.